In the quiet streets of St. Petersburg, Russia, lived a woman who blended seamlessly into the community, an elderly pensioner, her silver hair framing a face that spoke of years of life experiences. Tamara Samsonova, however, was no ordinary grandmother. Beneath her benign appearance lay a dark and sinister reality that shocked not only her neighbors but the world. This is the chilling story of Tamara Samsonova, a serial killer whose gruesome crimes earned her the moniker Granny Ripper. Tamara Mitrofanovna Samsonova was born on February 5, 1947, in the Soviet Union. Details about her early life remain scarce, obscured by the fog of time and the enigma of her later actions. By all accounts, Samsonova led a relatively unremarkable life for much of her existence. She graduated from high school and later moved to Moscow, where she studied foreign languages. Her studies led her to work in the hotel industry, eventually securing a position at the Grand Hotel Europe in St. Petersburg. She appeared to live a modest, content life, marked by marriage and the stability of a steady job. However, cracks began to appear in her facade when her husband, Alexei Samsonov, disappeared in 2005. Though she filed a missing person report, no substantial investigation followed, and Alexei was never found. This event would later be viewed as the potential genesis of her dark descent. The public's perception of Samsonova as a quiet, unassuming pensioner shattered in July 2015 when she was arrested for the murder of 79-year-old Valentina Ulanova. Ulanova, a fellow pensioner, had kindly taken Samsonova into her home after the latter claimed to have nowhere else to stay. What seemed like a kind act of charity soon spiraled into a chilling tale of betrayal and murder. After a minor disagreement over unwashed dishes, Samsonova decided to take a macabre course of action. On the evening of July 23, 2015, she sedated Ulanova with sleeping pills mixed into a salad. Once Ulanova was unconscious, Samsonova used a hacksaw to dismember her body. The next day, she calmly disposed of the body parts in various locations near her home, placing them in plastic bags. Security cameras captured Samsonova dragging a large bag, later identified as containing Ulanova's remains. This footage became a key piece of evidence in her arrest. Upon searching her apartment, police uncovered a chilling diary, written in Russian, English, and German, detailing her crimes. The diary found in Samsonova's possession was a macabre catalogue of her actions, spanning over 2 decades. Written in meticulous detail, it described how she lured victims, drugged them, and dismembered their bodies. The entries were chilling in their lack of remorse, with Samsonova referring to her victims as human material. One particularly haunting entry read, "I killed my tenant Valadia, cut him into pieces in the bathroom with a knife, put the pieces of his body in plastic bags, and threw them away." The diary also hinted at the possibility that Samsonova had killed her missing husband years earlier, though his body was never found. Some entries even implied cannibalism, suggesting that she may have consumed parts of her victims. However, these claims remain unconfirmed. Investigators believe that Samsonova's killing spree began as early as 1995, spanning 20 years and involving at least 14 victims. Her method was chillingly consistent. She would befriend vulnerable individuals, often offering to care for them or share living arrangements. Once trust was established, she would strike, using sleeping pills to incapacitate her victims before dismembering them. Several former tenants of Samsonova's apartment had gone missing under mysterious circumstances, further fueling suspicions about her past crimes. Despite the mounting evidence, Samsonova remained calm and composed during police interrogations, even smiling as she recounted her actions. Tamara Samsonova's behavior puzzled both investigators and psychologists. Her actions suggested a profound detachment from societal norms and an alarming lack of empathy. During court proceedings, she made bizarre statements, claiming she was a witch and had been cursed. She even suggested that her murders were part of a ritualistic practice to satisfy a supernatural entity. A psychological evaluation deemed her mentally unfit for trial. Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, Samsonova was committed to a high-security psychiatric hospital indefinitely. Her apparent delusions and erratic behavior raised questions about whether she truly believed in her supernatural justifications or if these claims were a calculated attempt to avoid legal consequences. The revelation of Samsonova's crimes sent shockwaves through Russia and beyond. Media outlets quickly dubbed her the Granny Ripper, drawing comparisons to infamous serial killers like Jack the Ripper. The juxtaposition of her grandmotherly appearance with the heinous nature of her crimes fascinated and horrified the public in equal measure. Neighbors described Samsonova as polite and reserved, often seen feeding stray cats in her spare time. Many found it impossible to reconcile the kindly pensioner they knew with the brutal killer she turned out to be. This duality only added to the morbid curiosity surrounding her case. Despite her arrest and confession, many questions about Tamara Samsonova's life and crimes remain unanswered. How many victims did she truly claim? What drove her to commit such gruesome acts? And was her mental illness the root cause of her actions, or merely a convenient excuse? One of the most haunting aspects of her story is the possibility that she operated undetected for decades. Her ability to blend into society, coupled with the lack of thorough investigations into her missing tenants, allowed her to continue her killing spree unchecked. Tamara Samsonova's case serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide behind the most ordinary facades. Her crimes have become a part of Russia's criminal folklore, a macabre tale that continues to captivate true crime enthusiasts around the world. Today, Samsonova remains in a psychiatric facility, where she will likely spend the rest of her life. Though justice has been served, the scars left by her actions linger, a testament to the horrors one individual can inflict upon others. Tamara Samsonova's story is not just one of violence and horror, but also of the human capacity for deception and the profound mysteries of the mind. As society grapples with the implications of her crimes, her name will undoubtedly remain etched in the annals of true crime history. Samsonova's apartment in St. Petersburg became a focal point for investigators. Modest and unassuming from the outside, it concealed a trove of dark secrets within its walls. Alongside her infamous diary, police discovered medical textbooks and occult literature. The books were marked with annotations, hinting at her interest in both pharmacology likely to aid in sedating her victims and mystical rituals. Neighbors recalled a peculiar odor that sometimes wafted from her flat, which they had assumed was due to her cooking or cleaning. In hindsight, this detail took on a far more sinister meaning. Investigators speculated that Samsonova might have disposed of some remains in ways that have yet to be uncovered, though this remains unproven. A striking feature of Samsonova's crimes was her choice of victims. They were often individuals who trusted her implicitly, neighbors, tenants, and acquaintances who saw her as a kindly older woman offering help. This trust was her weapon. Her victims were predominantly elderly, socially isolated, or financially vulnerable, making them easy targets. Police believe that her calm demeanor and appearance as a harmless pensioner allowed her to avoid suspicion for decades. It's also worth noting the deliberate manner in which Samsonova operated. She ensured her victims had few close connections, minimizing the risk of inquiries into their disappearances. The absence of immediate family members or active social circles among her victims provided the perfect cover for her horrific acts. Samsonova's ability to manipulate those around her extended beyond her victims. During police interrogations, she oscillated between cold detachment and erratic outbursts, leaving investigators unsure of how much of her behavior was genuine. She sometimes spoke in riddles, claiming supernatural forces guided her actions, while at other times, she provided chillingly logical explanations for her crimes. One detective on the case later remarked, "She was like two different people. One moment, she would appear fragile and harmless. The next, she spoke about murder with the detachment of a surgeon describing a routine procedure." One of the most puzzling aspects of Samsonova's case is the timeline of her crimes. While her first confirmed murder occurred in the 1990s, there are indications that she may have started much earlier. The lack of thorough investigations into missing persons during the Soviet era and the tumultuous years that followed created an environment where crimes could go unnoticed. During her time at the Grand Hotel Europe, Samsonova came into contact with countless tourists and travelers. Some theorists suggest she may have used her position to target unsuspecting individuals, though no concrete evidence ties her to crimes during this period. However, the possibility remains that the true scope of her actions extends far beyond what is currently known. St. Petersburg, often regarded as Russia's cultural capital, found itself thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The revelation of Samsonova's crimes sent ripples of fear through the community, particularly among the elderly. Many residents began questioning their own safety, wondering how someone so outwardly ordinary could commit such atrocities. Local media outlets covered the story extensively, portraying Samsonova as a symbol of hidden danger. The juxtaposition of her grandmotherly appearance with her monstrous actions became a grim fascination for the public. Even as the initial shock faded, her story left an indelible mark on the city's collective memory. Samsonova's case has drawn comparisons to other notorious killers, both in Russia and abroad. Her meticulous methods, reliance on manipulation, and ability to evade detection evoke parallels to Andrei Chikatilo, the infamous Rostov Ripper. Like Chikatilo, Samsonova exploited systemic failures in law enforcement to carry out her crimes undetected. Internationally, some have likened her to serial killers like Albert Fish or Dorothea Puente, both of whom used their appearances and societal roles to mask their sinister intentions. In Samsonova's case, her status as an elderly woman allowed her to blend into her community effortlessly, making her an unlikely suspect in such heinous acts. Samsonova's diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia adds a complex layer to her story. While her erratic behavior and claims of supernatural influence could be attributed to her mental illness, it remains unclear how much of her actions were driven by genuine delusion versus calculated intent. Psychiatrists involved in her case noted that Samsonova exhibited signs of deep-seated paranoia, including the belief that others were plotting against her. These delusions may have contributed to her choice of victims, as she targeted individuals she perceived as threats or nuisances. However, the premeditated nature of her crimes suggests a level of control that complicates the narrative. The decision to commit Samsonova to a psychiatric institution rather than pursue a criminal trial sparked debate in Russia. Some argued that she deserved punishment proportional to her crimes, while others contended that her mental state rendered her incapable of comprehending her actions. This dichotomy reflects broader societal questions about the intersection of mental health and criminal justice. Cases like Samsonova's challenge traditional notions of accountability, forcing society to grapple with the complexities of human behavior. Since her commitment to a high-security psychiatric facility, Samsonova has reportedly shown little remorse for her actions. Staff members describe her as cooperative but prone to sudden mood swings and cryptic remarks. She often refuses to discuss her crimes directly, instead diverting conversations to unrelated topics or mystical beliefs. Despite her confinement, Samsonova remains a figure of fascination for true crime enthusiasts and criminologists alike. Her case continues to be studied as an example of how societal perceptions and systemic failures can allow even the most unassuming individuals to commit unimaginable acts. Samsonova's story has inspired numerous books, documentaries, and online discussions, cementing her place in the annals of true crime history. Her case serves as a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, challenging our assumptions about trust and safety. In Russia, her crimes have become a cautionary tale, particularly for the elderly. Community programs aimed at fostering connections among older residents have emerged in response, seeking to prevent isolation and exploitation. Though Tamara Samsonova is now confined, the echoes of her actions continue to resonate. Her story raises unsettling questions about human nature, the thin veneer of civility, and the dark impulses that can fester beneath the surface. For those who knew her or thought they did, the shock of her crimes remains an unhealed wound, a chilling testament to the danger of misplaced trust. As the world moves on, the memory of the Granny Ripper lingers, a haunting reminder that monsters do not always look the part.